First, I want to talk about the controversy surrounding the quote, they're calling it the Don't Say Gay bill. Now, that is the terminology of LGBTQ plus activists to attack the bill and to attack specifically the Ron DeSantis component, or rather Ron DeSantis as the governor of Texas and whether he will sign this or not. It's actually called, a lot of people will be hearing this at first, the Parental Rights in Education bill. And what's happened is LGBTQ activists have dubbed it the Don't Say Gay bill. Here's what it actually does. You cannot teach in the state of Florida under this bill lessons about sexuality, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity to pre-K to third graders. That's what's actually... Now, I would go beyond just that's entirely reasonable to why the heck would someone be outraged at the notion that you shouldn't be teaching the school? Parents can teach their kids about these things as they see fit as parents, right? That's part of the parental rights in education. Parents should have that conversation with kids. Clay, why would someone want to, as a matter of state policy, instruct 5-year-olds in sex, sexuality, and gender identity? You're a parent. I'm not. What do you think about this? I mean, to me, it strikes me as what the heck is wrong with these people?
It seems very reasonable not to be having those conversations with kindergartners and first graders and pre-K and second graders and third graders, to me, as a parent, in school. But if you disagree, the great thing about being a parent is you are not limited to what your kids learn in school. You can sit down and have conversations with them about any number of subjects that you feel are important. To me, and I've raised 3 boys or working on raising 3 boys. My kids are 14, 11, and 7. There are conversations, this is not going to shock anybody, that I can have with a 14-year-old and that I need to have with a 14-year-old that are totally different than conversations that I can have with a 7-year-old. And this is crazy. I mean, trying to think how to phrase this without getting the case there's young kids out there in the car. Santa Claus for kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and third graders is a big deal. That's a normal conversation that you have. You're excited for Santa Claus to come to town. That conversation for a 9th to 10th and 11th grader is totally different, right? Take it outside of the realm of something that's culturally charged and just talk about how you discuss Santa Claus with young kids compared to what you would say with teenagers. This doesn't seem like a crazy idea at all, and I think it's evidence. This is what I think is going on. I think that Democrats are so utterly aware that they're going to get destroyed in 2022 that they are desperate to find something to attack Ron DeSantis with in Florida as the governor's race comes up there. And so they are manufacturing issues because they totally failed on the biggest issue, which is COVID. And this is why I think ultimately maybe the Supreme Court is going to give Democrats a little bit of a gift here as it pertains to the timing of the Roe v. Wade case that they're hearing with Mississippi and Texas. Because if they make a big decision there, and by the way, I don't think it's going to be a big decision. I think they're going to uphold Mississippi and strike down in some way what Texas is doing. That's my prediction. But Democrats are desperate to find something, Buck, to hang their hat on other than COVID, other than the border, other than the murder rate, other than Ukraine, and other than what's going on with Afghanistan. And so they're going to go all in on issues like these and claim, oh, Republicans are awful reprobates for not wanting to talk about gay issues with kindergartners. That's the line they're going to try to play, and they're going to argue it's saying something that it isn't.
This is the only time you've seen recently some kind of pushback to parental rights. Parental involvement in education has been a huge winner for Republicans now, stretching back for over a year. We saw this because of what parents saw during COVID, critical race theory training, the shutdown of schools, the masking of kids, all of this. It has been the GOP that says, hold on a second, parents should get more of a say here. Parents should be able to speak out at the school board meetings. Then you had the Biden administration putting out that weird memo about DOJ under Biden that this is essentially like domestic terrorists for these parents to show up, and there's FBI agents looking into this, which was completely outrageous and should be remembered going forward as we see a lot of the tactics used to silence dissent in places like Canada. They'll do it here too. But Clay, here is Ron DeSantis, who is not going to, he's just not going to, he's not going to take it. He's not going to take it anymore. Sorry. Whatever. You know what I mean? He's not going to take it on the lies here about what the Don't Say Gay bill is. Because, first of all, it's not called that. It's the Parental Rights and Education Bill. So I'm sorry to use it, but just to see that propaganda line's caught on. People are going on marches now just shouting gay, gay, gay. There's video of this out there. Ron DeSantis is like, stop lying about this.
Parental rights and education, what critics call the Don't Say Gay bill, is on the Senate floor.
Does it say that in the bill?
I know that you support.
Does it say that in the bill?
I'm asking
you to tell me what's in the bill because you are pushing false narratives. It doesn't matter what critics say.
Hold on. It says it bans classroom instruction on sexual identity and gender orientation.
For who? For grades pre-K through 3. 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And the idea that you wouldn't be honest about that and tell people what it actually says, it's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. And so we disabuse you of those narratives. And we're going to make sure that parents are able to send their kid to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum.
So, Clay, I mean, first of all, Ron DeSantis is great when it comes to dealing with the media and their fake narratives. But, I mean, I even think, I'm not a parent, but I remember, I think it was the third, it might have been the fourth grade. I remember the first time I had, the birds and the bees talk. And it didn't come from my parents initially. It came from a student a year ahead of me who just randomly were out going on the sports field, we're playing like, kickball or soccer or something. He grabs me and he goes, "Do you know where babies come from?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "It's when you poke a lady in her belly button, then a baby comes out." Now, technically not really true, but then I went and I had a talk with my mom and my dad, and they kind of explained where babies came from. It turns out not from just the belly button. But the point being, that's, parents should be involved in that. I always remember that. I was like terrified. I was
That's
like,
really
pop quiz.
funny.
I'm going to fail. Anyway, but I want to talk to my parents about this, but I feel like for so many people, that's, there are sensitive issues, things that come up, and that's where parental rights come in. No one's saying you can't teach about, safe. They did. I remember this. They did this in my high school. Safe sex practices and all that kind of stuff. I think we were freshmen in high school. 6th grade, when I was in grammar school, we had some health class where they got into some of this stuff. It's just about the age. 5, 6, and 7-year-olds.
Yes, that's exactly right. When you're hitting puberty, it's important to have biological conversations with kids about what is happening to them. That doesn't happen in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. My wife is great on topics like these because that's the other thing is you should let your kid choose their gender and respect it when they're like in 1st grade. That's an argument of transgender advocates. And my wife, we were having this conversation. It's like, I don't let our kids pick what food they eat in 1st grade because if they did, they would pick candy, cake. We don't allow kids to pick their meals when they're kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And we're going to allow them to pick their gender. And certainly, if we're not allowing them to pick their meals, we don't need to be having a larger conversation about society and sex roles for young kids. But again, this is the desperation because I think, look, the Democrats are aware, even though they won't acknowledge it, that they got crushed on masks. And that they're wrong, and that the vast majority of the American public, team reality as we call them, has lined up. And we need to play the ridiculous clip from the new New York City mayor here, maybe in the next segment about what's going on there. Democrats are aware that they lost the battle on whether America is an awful racist place because parents don't believe that, and they don't believe that their kids should be being taught that, which is effectively what critical race theory is. And so they're looking for something in the classrooms where they can win a battle to try to change the narrative of what is going on in public schools. They're going to lose this one too, I think, but there will be, you say Disney's getting pressure. Have you seen this? They want Disney to speak out and say something about this Florida bill when I think most people out there listening, regardless of whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, if you've raised young kids, preschoolers, kindergartners, 1st graders, 2nd graders, 3rd graders, they don't need to be enmeshed in human sexuality discussions.
Yeah, and also, if I were a parent, I'm not yet, but if I were a parent, I wouldn't want some bureaucrat randomly being the one that introduces my child to this kind of discussion. I would want to have some time period as the child grows and develops a little bit where we could have a father son or father daughter, etc. discussion, or mother son, mother daughter.